lot of people have this concept that the spiritual path is constantly walking on clouds, constantly walking on clouds and being in a state of bliss. And a lot of this comes from when you first start your spiritual awakening. When you first have a spiritual awakening, there's a sense of euphoria and higher consciousness, and you're connected to everything. You're one with everything. And you immediately associate that with this must be spirituality. This must be the spiritual life. Well, that's a problem because anything else after that, all of a sudden is not spiritual. If you have a bad day, oh, that's not spiritual. Oh, it's just a mediocre day. Oh, that's not spiritual. No, everything is spiritual because spirit is everything. So when you look at your entire life as a spiritual path, everything in life is not only spiritual, but a spiritual lesson. You need those valleys, you need those troughs, you need those in-betweens to show you, hey, this is also part of the journey. Maybe your awareness needs to be somewhere that is lowering your vibration, or maybe not, because source is yin and yang. And this is another mistake that people make. A lot of people, when they're first getting into spirituality, they only want to stay on the side of the light. This is false. Source is yin and yang. Source is also the darkness. Darkness is not bad. We're programmed through fear-based religion to believe that darkness is bad. And then Hollywood jumps on the bandwagon with, darkness. Any villain is dressed in black, right? But source is also the darkness. Yin and yang is a thing for a reason. And the feminine, the yin part, is dark. That's the dark part, the feminine part. Well, that's where you find source. You go within divine feminine. Shakti is what it's called. This is the divine creative feminine force. It's the darkness. What is also in the darkness? Knowledge. What type of knowledge? Hidden knowledge. Why is it hidden? Because it's in the darkness. So you don't really come into an understanding of full, well-rounded spiritual practice until you go into the darkness. Because when you go into the darkness, also known as your shadow, you're going to find, of course, there's the unhealed trauma, but you're going to find some attributes and some traits and some gifts and abilities that you never even knew that you had. Why? Because the ego hid them there as a child, because the ego didn't believe that those things were necessary for survival. Perfect example. Let's say that as a kid, your parents never made you feel heard. Every time you tried to speak up and use your voice, you were shunned. And the ego said, hey, this is a threat to survival. Whenever I'm quiet and meek and I don't rock the boat, I get love and food and shelter. So now all of a sudden, the ego equates speaking up and rocking the boat with a threat to survival. Well, you carry that into adulthood and you become this meek little person. And the interesting thing is that your natural state might be someone that is very boisterous and a leader and someone that's outspoken and you have a lot of things to express. But until you go into the darkness that is hiding those traits and abilities and heal what is keeping that from being expressed, you never step into your greatest version. We've got to reprogram this. Darkness is bad. Source is all things. Source is also the darkness, or source wouldn't be all things. So go into your darkness and think about that cocoon. This just kind of hit me. Think about that cocoon that the caterpillar goes into. Isn't that cocoon dark? It's dark in there. You can't see anything, but that's where the butterfly is found. Your whole life is a spiritual awakening. Don't label the highs as only spiritual. Everything is spiritual. The troughs have much to teach you. The in-betweens have much to teach you. The darkness has much to teach you. That's where your greatest version is going to be found. And that's the beauty of it. That's why we incarnated. Think about it. If you are in the non-physical, you're just a part of source and it's constant eternal bliss. Isn't that boring? This is why we incarnate. We incarnate for the experience. We incarnate for the physicality of things. We incarnate for the opposite of rainbows and unicorns, because when you come from source, everything is rainbow and unicorns, right? So you incarnate into the physicality to get a better, to get a different experience. And that helps you grow and understand that your true identity is love, is source.